So one of the questions we got throughout the day is there a future for emotion AI and chat? I take that to mean, well, it could mean a number of things, but I take it to mean chatbots. So there's a lot of synergies between emotion AI and chatbots. In particular, chatbots are designed to be very engaging and build a rapport with users. And that is often very critical to what users get out of these chatbots. So yeah, emotion AI is a big component of that, and we are very interested in exploring this space. So we are planning for our next hackathon. Our first hackathon was last March. It was very successful. We held it at the Microsoft New England Research Center. And we are still in conversations on where the next hackathon is going to be. It is usually, we're planning to hold it sometime in the spring, and the location and other logistics are TBD. So if you have ideas, please reach out to us with some suggestions. Yeah, there is at least one vote for New York, which we're definitely very open to. Yeah, exactly. If we're looking for suggestions on where to host it and maybe potential partners to help us plan it as well. Another question we got throughout the day was around our, are we using any theories of emotions to do emotion measurement? That is a great question. At the facial expression level, we use the facial action coding system, which is a system for translating muscle movements into expressions. And then, so these, we kind of like to think of those as the building blocks of emotional expressions. And then on top of that, we have a layer that maps these expressions or combinations of these expressions to an emotional state. So far, we captured the basic emotions, in addition to a couple of other complex emotions like contempt. We also do attention, as well as an overall measure of valence and engagement. Oh, there's a few more questions. I'm seeing them coming in. Out of curiosity, what is your definition of emotion and at Affectiva, and how is your recognition approach influenced by such a definition? Question by Ben. Ben, this is an awesome question. There is a lot of literature out there on what is the definition of an emotion. For example, is interest an emotion or not? We tend to take a very data-driven approach, so we're interested in emotions that manifest when people are, say, in a gaming context or a learning context, and we use that to drive which emotions we focus on. And so some of them will end up being very social cues, like a politeness smile. Some of them are going to be very cognitive, like attention overload in a driving context. So we have a pretty broad definition of what an emotional state is. For the hackathon, can online participants join as well? A question from Nermeen. We have not yet made a decision about that. Last year, you had to be there, you had to be present, so we did not have an online component, but it's definitely something we've thought about. Okay, how do you validate your data sets for training, i.e., how do you define ground truth? We have a team of certified fax coders. Basically, they go through about 100 hours of training to learn to read and code different facial expressions and emotional states. They also code for things like age, gender, ethnicity. And we essentially take all our data and we get a subset of it labeled, and a portion of that becomes the training data set and a portion becomes the validation data set. We require that any segment of videos that we train gets or validate with gets labeled by at least 3 labelers, and we look for interlabelers. So as Tim mentioned, we are always on the lookout for data partners. We're also interested in hearing your feedback on, what kind of emotional states would be interesting to build into our SDKs, as well as use cases. We are putting together what we're calling the Emotion AI think tank. So it's a think tank of thought leaders, developers, academics, business folks who are interested in shaping the future and the roadmap for Emotion AI. If this is something that interests you, please feel free to reach out to us, and we will find a way to get you involved. So this is a question that's more geared towards our market research and advertising use case. We do a lot of work, testing ads globally. Actually, we're partnered with a third of the Fortune Global 100 companies, and we test their ads worldwide. We have a number of publications on our website that detail that use case, and we talk about how some of this data has been used to predict consumer behavior like purchase intent or even sometimes purchase behavior, as well as virality. So please go to our website, look for these papers under resources. Okay. The specific insights, though, are owned by the end clients. Oh, are there? Yep. It's very hard to recognize boredom based on facts. Are you planning to go for it? Yes, we hear you. You should reach out to us directly, though, because if you know that, then you're pretty immersed in this space, and I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. There is no manual. So facts is awesome because it provides an objective way of scoring facial expressions. But there is no similar manual at the emotion level. And this is a case where we gather a ton of data that elicits a certain response, and we use our understanding of the context to bootstrap, what does boredom look like? What does frustration look like? What does pain look like? So in all these cases, data is going to be very important. Can we combine expressions already provided by the SDKs to code for emotions? Yes, and we do have a number of partners that do that. So if, for example, Nevermind the game, and it's a horror game. Aaron Reynolds, the creator of this game, spoke earlier today. They monitor the individual facial expressions, and then they build their own models that combine these expressions into an emotion that they're interested in, like, for example, anxiety. So this is definitely an approach that makes a lot of sense. We have a few more minutes to go. If you have any final questions, please post them online. Okay, couple more questions. Typically, when will the think tank be held? We're still deciding that. So the think tank at the moment has 3 subgroups. One is the developer council, and it's a group of, at the moment we have about 7 developers part of this council, and I believe their first ever meeting is coming up soon. The other, there's a science council. Professor Antonio Torralba, who joined earlier today, he's part of that council along with a few other individuals. We have not yet locked down a date for meeting with that council. And then there's a strategy council. This is a group of business leaders who have a vested interest in emotion AI in the industry. So people out of the automotive industry or maybe the gaming industry who are interested in seeing where this goes. I just got back from Web Summit and the World Economic Forum, and there was a lot of discussion around the ethics. So I haven't yet kind of got everybody's thoughts around this, but perhaps we put together an ethics council as well. We're thinking that some of these meetings will be held online, and then maybe in tangent with our emotion hackathon, we would have an in-person meeting. All very new, so give us feedback to shape it. Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions. Oh, one more. Oh, a few more. Okay. Would you say that these 2 types of users are problematic? Inexpressive individuals, and where culturally it is considered inappropriate to be expressive? I'll start with the latter one. So where culturally it's considered to be inappropriate to be expressive. We do a lot of work in Asia. In fact, we did a very controlled study in Japan where we had a group of people watch the same set of ads once in the office, so in the presence of their coworkers, their bosses, and then watch them at home. And we found that people responded a lot. I mean, they were a lot more expressive when they watched these ads at home. And that speaks to, emotions are very personal. It's a very personal data set, if you like, and people need to feel comfortable to share these emotions. They need to be motivated to not mask or dampen these expressions of emotions. And so I think, as we think about these emotion-aware experiences, making people comfortable and building trust with these devices that are emotion-aware is going to be very critical. So crafting the user experience so that people want to be expressive, I think, is going to be critical. And then in expressive individuals, I think ultimately the plan is to build individual emotional profiles, so that, what, if I have a huge smile and pretty expressive, that doesn't really mean anything. Whereas if somebody who's typically not very expressive and they give you a little smile, then that's then you put more weight on that. So it's going to fall back to or boil down to building these individual emotion models. Would you support a market research company using your SDK, even though you are tackling market research as well? That is a good question. At the moment, our SDK license agreement precludes people from using our SDK in market research. However, market research is a huge space, and there are a lot of areas in market research that we have not really applied the SDK to. So if this is something you're interested in, feel free to email us directly at info@affectiva.com, and we can have a conversation around that.
Also, to extend that, we provide our technology to market research firms without our SDK. So we're not actually a market research firm. So if you are a market research firm, we'd love to talk to you because we're partnered with many market research firms already.
All right. Well, thank you again, everybody, for joining us today and sticking around. We welcome your feedback, and we can't wait to see what you're going to build with our SDKs. Thank you again.